Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm here to do my worst books of the year video. I do a video like this every year, like most of BookTube, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. This video is my combined most disappointing and worst books of the year video, but people like to see the title worst, so I didn't include it, but now you know. The first few books I'm going to talk about are more disappointing than actually bad, and then there's one bridge book, and then the rest I think are bad books, in my opinion. If you have different opinions about any of these books, please share them down below respectfully. If you have a problem with me talking about my negative opinions about these books, then you are on the wrong channel. You can find someone else who doesn't do this. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. Sometimes you read a book and it's really bad. I like to share all my opinions about books, good or bad. My best books of the year video will be coming up soon, so if you want some more positive opinions, stay tuned for that. That's all I'm going to say by way of disclaimer. These books are the worst books that I read in 2020, not books that were released in 2020, although this does have more new releases than normal for me because I read a lot of new releases. So just putting that out there. And yeah, let's just get into it. Like I said, these first 3 books are more disappointing than bad, and then we'll get to the bad, in my opinion. These are in no particular order other than disappointing and worst. So first we have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. No, you stay over there. Okay, Tucker's joining us. First we have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. You might be surprised to see this here, although if you've been following my channel, you're probably not surprised because I did do the wrap-up where I talked about this video, and I don't think this is a bad book. This is strictly very disappointing for me because I just thought I would love it when I picked it up. It was one of my most anticipated releases for the year, so I just thought that I would love it, and I really didn't. The tropes that it includes did not really work for me. I'm gonna be giving like very bare synopsises for these books, but if you want better synopsises, you can check out if they're featured in a wrap-up or anything. I'll leave those linked down below, and you can also look at Goodreads. This book follows a girl who decides to attend a early college program at UNC Chapel Hill. She decides to go there, one, to further education, but it also coincides with 3 months after her mother was killed in an accident. So she's also going there to escape, but her first night at school, she witnesses a magical event and realizes that there's more to this world. And also, now that she's learning about these magical people, she starts to think that the accident that killed her mother might have something else going on. So it's about her discovering this and discovering the magical people. It's like a King Arthur retelling of some kind. And like I said, it was more disappointing because that synopsis sounded really interesting to me. Just the tropes that were used, there's a love triangle, and just the way the main character was written, I wasn't a huge fan of. So yeah, this was really disappointing for me. Next we have A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. This is set in a very light fantasy world, which is basically the same as ours, except certain magical creatures exist and kind of commingle with regular people. And we follow 2 girls, one of whom is a siren, and sirens are oppressed in this society because they are mostly or only Black women. So we follow one of the main characters who's dealing with that, and then the other main character is dealing with some other things going on with her family and things that she doesn't really know about, and she feels like things are being hidden from her. So we follow both those characters as they try to go through life. And towards the beginning of the book, there's a trial where the murderer of a siren is let go or acquitted because the victim was a siren, so they're also dealing with the backlash of that. For me, once again, the book was written well, in my opinion. I just think I read it at the wrong time. I either read it in June or the beginning of July. I can't really remember right now. So it was very close to all the protests that were going on. And it also made me think about some other things that I sometimes have problems with allegories in fantasy novels. And so it just made me think about all those things. It kind of made the novel leave a bad taste in my mouth, and I really thought I was going to love it. So that's why it's disappointing. And lastly, we have Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. If you've been on my channel for a long time, you know how much I love Children of Blood and Bone, and this was so disappointing to me. I do have a reading vlog where I talk about basically everything that disappointed me in the book. I go through basically everything in this. So if you want to check out the reading vlog, then feel free. It'll be linked down below and in the cards. It just was not as good as the first book is what it comes down to. So many things that felt so well thought out in the first book just did not in this book. It felt like everything was just being thrown at you for no reason. There was no rhyme or reason for lots of things. All the characters felt like they were being written out of character, and I just was really disappointed by that because I loved Children of Blood and Bone so much. And this is kind of a bridge into worse books because I also don't think it was written well, like I just said. So now we're on to books that I actively disliked. First we have You by Caroline Kepnes. I'm sure you've heard of it. We are basically in the mind of a serial killer named, I think his name is Joe, and we follow him as he stalks a woman who he decides he's in love with. Can I really say 2 books are a string of thrillers? But anyway, this was part of a string of thrillers where I was like, maybe I don't like thrillers because this just didn't really thrill me. I don't know if it wasn't written well because I don't read a lot of thrillers. I kind of don't think that was it though. But I think maybe the big aspect of this book is that it is told in second person, and before when people were reading it, that felt really new and intriguing. But since this book has been out for a while and I knew that going in, it was written in second person, so that didn't really wow me and it just felt like more of a gimmick. And Joe as a character, obviously I don't expect a serial killer to be likable, but I expect to be intrigued by him or something, and I just was bored most of the time while reading it. Nothing about him really surprised me, and I was just reading to watch what happened. And since I didn't really feel connected to anyone, it just wasn't that much fun to read. This is also a very nitpicky thing that I noticed, and I wrote it in my review, so I want to point it out here because it did really bother me and it just felt like weird, bad research. Basically, at one point there's a character who asks another character what borough they're from, and this book is set in New York City. So the character responds that they're from Bed-Stuy, which is not a borough. If you're not from New York City, the borough Bed-Stuy is in is Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy is not a borough. So I thought that was just a weird thing, and she should have just not included that line, or that's a very easily Googleable thing, and I know it's very petty. That's not why it's on this list, but it was just an added sprinkle of why. So yeah, I just thought it was boring. Wasn't my favorite book. I actually read it so that I could watch the Netflix adaptation because I think the second season had just come out or something, or I don't know why. But I really did not enjoy it enough to want to watch that, so I never did. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. This book follows a woman who decides she needs a break from life, and so she wants to take a year off. And to do this, she decides to basically drug herself up so that she can sleep through the days. This was a very interesting read for me. Obviously, the main character is suffering from depression because, she wants to sleep all the time. She's very disinterested in life and her friends and everything like that. So I think that part was really interesting. And also she is dealing with the death of her parents, both of her parents are were kind of distant while they were alive, and she had a weird relationship, so she was also dealing with coming to terms with that, sort of. I don't really think she came to terms, but it was discussed. And the main character is also not really a great person. She's really mean to her best friend. She does not care about other people at all. And a lot of her problems, depression aside. I'm not saying that you can't have depression and not have these problems, but a lot of her other problems were like rich people problems. So it kind of makes it hard to sympathize with her, but the main character is very self-aware, so it kind of makes it fun to read. And it's kind of like, I guess, like an adult Gossip Girl. Like, that's very far from it because it's not like that kind of drama, but that kind of feeling where you're like watching those rich people do things is kind of in there. So there were a good amount of things about the book that I liked, but the ending of this book destroyed it for me because the ending felt incredibly cheap and like a way for the author to manipulate you into like feeling sorry or something. And she used like an event that I felt like should not be used like that. So I really just didn't like that, and I feel like it ruined the whole book for me. If you've read it, you know what the event is. I do not want to spoil it in this, but yeah. Next we have The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. This past year in 2020, I read the entirety of the Chronicles of Narnia for a reading vlog, which will be linked down below. And so if you want like more in-depth thoughts about any of the books in the series, but also specifically this one, you can check out that video. But basically this is one of the books in the Narnia series because there's like a whole thing of contention about the order of the series. It's one of the books that doesn't follow the Pevensies, so that already had a strike for me. But then this book is just randomly incredibly racist for no reason. It's honestly really weird because the first like 4 or 5, there's no mention of anything like that in the books. And then you just show up and there's these people called the Calormen who are savages, and the main character is trying to get away from them because they're savages, and it's just so wild and weird. Like, why was this included? So yeah, it's the worst book in the series for me, and one of the worst books I read this year. Another book that I read for a reading vlog was Unbelievable by Sara Shepard. This is the fourth book in the Pretty Little Liars series. I read the first 4 books for that reading vlog. It will be linked down below. I think this is the worst one of the 4 that I read because this is like a conclusion, but it didn't really feel satisfying or done well in any way. So I just didn't really enjoy it that much. Will I be continuing on in the Pretty Little Liars series? Probably, but yeah, this was the worst one that I've read so far. Next we have Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This was just so wild and weird for no reason. This is basically supposed to be like an adult Scooby-Doo retelling, where basically all the main characters are kind of one-to-one comparisons with the characters from Scooby-Doo. And these characters also had like a mystery solving club when they were younger, and they ended up not disbanding, but kind of disbanding after their last case kind of went awry, and they're not really sure what happened, and it felt like something otherworldly was there when they were solving their last case. And so now we follow them all as adults after being kind of messed up from that event of their last case, and we follow them all get back together to like solve the last case and figure out what really happened, because they know it wasn't just a guy in a suit in that one. So like I said, this is supposed to be an adult Scooby-Doo, and it really leans into it too much. In fact, you can really tell that the author is trying to make you remember these are adults, and it just doesn't work as well. There's some instances where it's funny, but a lot of them just felt like too much. And also there's so many twists and turns in this book that make 0 sense, and everything gets weirder and wilder. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the things that are included here, it's like you got to choose one. You got to pick one thing, and it didn't. It chose like 10. There's also like a series of things that I found were insensitive. There's something about Native Americans in here that I think was insensitive and just really weird in my opinion. It wasn't really like an insensitive statement towards Native Americans, just the way like Native Americans are used in this book just left a bad taste in my mouth. One of the main characters is a butch lesbian, which, you know, I don't have a problem with, but this book is written by a man, and there were definitely some things that felt very male gazy about her being with women. And one of the other main characters is, I don't know if she identified as a lesbian. I don't remember if she identified as bi, but they're in a relationship basically. And I don't think it's a spoiler, because if you are like in the Scooby-Doo fandom or anything like that, you know which characters I'm talking about, obviously. And like, you kind of expect it from an adult Scooby-Doo, like, to be honest. But yeah, the way they were described in the relationship felt very male gazy, which I wasn't a fan of. And there's also some things about mental health and like mental illness in here that I think other people would find insensitive as well. I found insensitive. There might even be something about trans people in here. I don't remember that well, because I didn't actually write a review of this because I just finished the book and I was like, what did I read? So this is just going off my memory. But yeah, there's a lot in here that was just too much a lot of the time, and a lot of insensitive things that were trying to be like funny, but just came off as trying too hard and weird. So there's that. And the last book in this list is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. How could I make a worst books of the year video without talking about this book? As you may or may not know, honestly, you probably do know, Suzanne Collins decided to go back to her old series, which was fine as it was. We all liked it. We were all like, thanks, Suzanne. Thanks for not doing something weird with your series. Or I was like that. I know a lot of people didn't like Mockingjay, but I liked it. I thought it was fine. I would have changed the ending a little bit, but I liked it. Anyway, most people can agree. We thought, oh, she did this series. She's done now. She made her money. She said what she needed to say. But no, Suzanne Collins was like, no, I need to say something else. And she released this book. If you somehow don't know, this is a President Snow origin story, kind of. It's a prequel to the Hunger Games series, and we follow like a younger President Snow during the 10th annual Hunger Games, where he is a mentor, and it's bad. I did a whole reading vlog of it where I was just so confused the whole time. The purpose of this book, there is no purpose. The only thing that I can think of as a purpose of this book, and my edition did have a like interview with Suzanne Collins where she talked about it, and basically she seemed like she was like trying to make like a statement, or like have us think about like fascism and like the rise of bad people, sort of. And I just don't think if that was her intention, it worked in this book at all, because we know like President Snow kind of wins. So like if you're trying to make a statement about like him being bad, he wins. So I don't think it works. That's my opinion. Like technically he doesn't win, but he lives a long, full life to like 80 something years old. And he dies laughing. So sorry if I just spoiled the end of the Hunger Games trilogy for you, but it's been like 10 years, okay? I just don't think it works. The entire writing of the book itself, it gets pretty boring in the middle because you do not care about President Snow because he's not likable. She doesn't try to make him likable, which is fine, I guess, but then what's the point? Why are we here? There was no winning with this book, in my opinion, so I feel like she should have just left it in the drafts. Those are the worst and most disappointing books that I read in 2020. In the comments down below, let me know what was the worst book you read and or the most disappointing book you read in 2020, and also leave me a thumbs down emoji. Do not click the thumbs down button, or I guess you could if you really hated this video, but if you like this video, you can press the thumbs up button. So yes, thumbs down emoji, not the button. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like I said, I'll be putting out my best books of the year video at some point soon. So subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever that does happen. And follow me on my social media. It's all linked in the description box down below. I will see you in my next video. Bye.